Hey everyone, this is Robert Jackson. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Hope everybody enjoyed their Easter and had lots of, I don't know, candy, treats, or whatnot, however you celebrate. So today we're going to be, um, yep, it's time to get back at it because it's time for another podcast. And today I have this gentleman sitting in the corner. We have Mr. Troy Hudson, who's going to share with us about just some business stuff and yeah, just to chat about his career. And yeah, I'm just really excited to have him on the show. So thank you very much for joining me, Troy.
Thank you, Robert, for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this. How was your Easter?
It was all right. I just mostly chilled and relaxed. I think we actually had an earthquake last night, so yeah, that was fun. But regardless, yeah, there's a lot to discuss about in the short time that we have here. So let's get on with the first question that I have for you.
Sure.
So you've been in the industry for a while now. I think what a lot of people don't really know is how you actually got your start. Like, how did you get your start navigating into the business, and just your little introduction, like your little story of how you got into this industry.
Sure, Robert. It dates way back. Probably early mid 80s, I actually joined the U.S. Army as a radio TV broadcast journalist. My dad actually was a recruiter, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do out of high school. And I knew I wanted to further my education. I had always had an interest in media production. And so he discovered that the military had specific jobs for people like me. And so I joined, and they sent me to school in Indianapolis. I came out and studied for 5 or 6 years, kind of OJT at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, as a radio TV production person, doing a little bit of journalism, but I was able to cut my teeth and worked as a radio personality in the local community, as well as on air for the military stations, just like any other radio station, except it just had military call letters. And then from there, got out of the military and worked a number of years as a video editor. And then along came about 10 years ago, and I was laid off from that video editing job that I had at the time, and set my sights on something I could do with very little investment, but a passion I'd had for years and years and years. And I'd done VO, voiceover, off and on, but it was not like my primary focus of my career after I got out of the Army. So I thought, okay, I can buy an iMac. I'll treat a little space. I'll focus on online jobs. I need to eat. I need to pay the bills. And so I focused on that and built a business up from 2012, and still enjoying that in 2022, 10 years later, as Troy W. Hudson, the voiceover with personality. So that's kind of the very short version of how from then to here spanned over about 35 years.
Awesome. So for the 35 years that you've been working, what are some of the biggest, because the industry is always evolving and it's always changing. So what are some of the biggest, like the ones that really stand out to you, like some of the biggest changes that you've noticed in the industry since you first got your start, and how it had evolved for the 35 plus years you've been working in the business?
It's nothing like it was back then. Just to start out from the technological standpoint, everything was analog back then. Everything was recording to, I don't know if some of your audience remembers this or not, but reel to reel, cart machines and radio stations, actual real life vinyl turntables, just very an analog world that slowly but surely migrated over to nonlinear editing, to hard drive based acquisition of media, to being able to what would have cost $100,000 probably a few years ago in equipment. The budget shrank to where it allowed a lot of people with a passion and a talent and a desire to get into voiceover. It became attainable within a much smaller budget amount. So what would have cost so much money a few years ago to build a studio is now just a miniature version of what that used to look like. Software plugins have made a lot of that possible. Just good common sense treatment of audio workspace is made that possible. The equipment is so much more capable now than it used to be. It's smaller, condensed, less repairs. I mean, literally with a Mac computer and a nice microphone, some nice monitors, and some decent sound treated space, just about anybody can get into the business. And then, of course, getting that client base and then the whole marketing aspect, that's a whole nother side of it that's changed over the last, I would even say 7 or 8 years, and where to find the work beyond the technological standpoint. I mean, it always is and has been what it is, which is voiceover. I mean, that basic part hasn't really changed. They hire you to do the voice, you read the script, either there's a director in your ear or there's not a director in your ear, but I'd say 95% of it, for most of us anyway, is home studio based these days, as opposed to going out. And that was long before COVID. It's just the nature of the way it worked. It's the nature of the way my business has been going for the last 10 years. So technologically, it's changed dramatically. Where you find the work has changed dramatically. Pay-to-play sites on the internet have changed the playing field dramatically. The location is really not that important anymore. It's whether you can deliver and whether you can connect and whether you can do exactly what the client's looking for. So it's changed a lot, but in the same way, the basic premise of deliver is still the same.
Yeah. So one thing that I really find interesting is you came from the military, because I know my brother and a couple of cousins of mine, they went to the military before, and I think one of them even pursued acting and voiceover too. So it really is fascinating learning more about people who originally came from the Army or the Navy, and then just hearing a lot of stories about how it was like working in the like being out in the battlefield and whatnot. So I say that my family does, at least, with people that originally served in the military to protect the country. So how would you say that transitioning from that and going into the world of voiceover, how would you describe the transition? Was it seamless, or did you have to learn a couple of things along the way? How would you say, as far back as you recall?
As far as far back as I recall, it's been a while. It was somewhat of a difficult transition, actually, because this was back pre-internet days. This was back before you could shoot off 100 or 200 resumes and search Google and try to find contacts. Excuse me. But at the same time, the quest, it's going to be a difficult transition unless you've already kind of got those contacts made on while you're in the military. For me, I did a good bit of moonlighting. So with the permission of the command, they allowed me to seek outside part-time employment while I was also doing my day job as a soldier / radio TV guy. So I was able to kind of have one toe out in where things were happening in the real world, I guess, civilian world, while I was also doing my thing in the military. So that made it it gave me a taste of what it was like. But to actually transition out, it was a difficult transition. For about 8 months, me, my wife, and 2 little ones had to live with my in-laws because the transition was quite difficult and I thought it was going to be easy because I'd sent out all these resumes, I had these skills, but the leap into the civilian workforce was not as smooth as I envisioned. But because it's very competitive once you get out of the protective shell and like everything being taken care of for you in the military, and you've got that family that's all around you, and what you're doing every day, so to speak. You have your mission and you're doing it, but it was a difficult transition. It took a while to find that first position, and it wasn't even in voiceover. It was as a television director, directing morning news and doing some voiceover, but the voiceover thing kind of was always secondary to the original thing, which was working for somebody else doing video editing, post-production, media work, which helped me grow, I think, as a voiceover talent because it allowed me to record scratch tracks and do things in between that the employer would want me to do. But it really didn't come to a head until, like I said, about 2012, when the job was gone. And then I had to figure out what to do next. And that's when I just laser focused in on voiceover. That's what I need to do. That's what I need to focus on. That's really my passion here. And it's something you can do without a major investment of machinery and a lot of things of building a video production business. Whereas you get a good mic, you get some good gear, you treat your space, and then you start hustling for the work. And so the transition, to answer the short question in a long way, it was difficult, but it was exciting at the same time, because I mean, I wouldn't want to go back and do it the same way, but it was eye-opening, and it was a big reality check, because it wasn't as smooth as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And if you ever had the chance or opportunity, would you uh like go back and like, I don't know, maybe serve in the military again? I know it's kind of like a bit of a weird question.
Well, I mean, I was honored and blessed to be able to serve my country. When I did, I count that as a great privilege. For almost 6 years, all the time at Fort Bragg, but I did get to travel. I did get to see some parts of the world that a lot of people don't get to see. By the nature of just doing what I did, I kind of was a journalist for a television program. I got to see and connect with people, military specialties of all different sorts, and got to see them in action and got to talk to these people. Whereas a lot of people, if they're in the military, have an MOS or a military occupational specialty. That's just kind of what they do. And they don't necessarily get to, see a lot of different parts of how the whole operation works. And I was fortunate enough to do that. I think at this point, I don't think they'd want me back just because of my age. But I never really thought about, the possibility of going back. At this point, I think I've done that part of my life, and the seasons have changed. And I was honored to serve when I did, and proud. Anytime somebody brings up, the fact that they're serving, I'm my hat's off to them, and I continue to just have nothing but positive things to say about my experience and what that allowed me to do in the world afterwards. So forever indebted and forever grateful for that service.
Yeah. So all of that you said earlier, would you consider that to be good advice on like how to build your brand and being yourself when it comes to marketing yourself to clients, and just when you're growing your brand as part of your business? Would you say that all of what you said earlier, do you consider that to be good advice to anybody looking into like if they wanted to grow their niche or their audience, so to speak?
Um, if you're asking, my particular road, if that was something I'd recommend,
Yeah.
um, through the military, I mean, to each their own. I mean, I understand some people, want to go through college. Some people want to just jump out in the workforce. Some people want to buy a mic, flip it on, and hope things happen. Some people, there's different ways to get there. The bottom line, no matter which way you go, and something I've discovered after being kind of thrown into the fire and trying to figure it out as I went, which was just, you've got to persevere. You've got to be tenacious. And in the voiceover world, you have got to have a very, very thick skin, because you are dealing with, it's very driven by auditions, and it's very driven by opportunities that you are sharing with lots of different voice actors in many cases, which means you're one in the crowd. And so what you end up having to do is you have to distinguish yourself from the rest of the folks. And whether that's just you're just super easy to work with, or you're just super, happy to give them 3 takes when all they really asked for was 1. If you're thinking outside the box and going, well, they're asking for this, and I'm going to give them that, but I'm also going to give them something that they're totally not expecting. I've won a number of jobs doing that, or been hired for another number of jobs, I should say, doing that kind of thing, and over delivering and surprising people with just that extra level of customer service. I know that's kind of, I don't think it's cliche, but there may be other terms for it. just treating people really, really well. So they want to continue to work with you. And that's really the foundation of how I've continued to grow my business. Early, I guess midway through, I was trying to just hit everything I could with social media. I was just a social media, get on Instagram, get on Facebook, get on YouTube, get on anything I could find at the time, and just come up with these little cutesy bits and pieces, and just kind of throw everything I could to try to get name attention or recognition. And to some degree, that's one way to get noticed. But a lot of times it's like you're singing to the choir. You're getting the attention of other voice actors that are going, oh man, that was cool, I loved your demo. But you're not really necessarily all the time getting the attention of the people that you want to hire you. So from the standpoint, there's nothing traditional about what we do, but the traditional focus of taking care of people, of knowing where those clients are. LinkedIn is a fantastic resource that I've used over the years. I have used social media to some extent, and I have gotten work through that. But the amount of time invested in that, I think I discovered after a few years, there was more burnout and not being able to measure that as I'm trying to build something, as opposed to just reaching out directly through email or Googling production facilities and saying, here I am. Because when you're doing kind of what we're doing, you're wearing that hat in the studio and you're doing your work, but you also are marketing yourself. You are marketing what you do. And if you're a one man or one woman shop, you're doing it all, and you have to figure out how to juggle. How much time am I going to spend on reaching out? How much time am I going to actually spend recording? How much time am I actually going to spend editing? How much time? There's just so much time. And then you have to choose. After a while, you figure out, well, what's really the return here on the investment of time? And sometimes, well, I'm overusing the word time, but on many occasions, I would discover I've been cranking out all the social media content, and I got a couple of contacts, but I've actually getting more work from just making sure that I'm taking care of clients who are referring me by word of mouth because I'm doing an excellent job for them. So one of the things that's really important, I think, no matter how you get to that point of where you start getting work, is that you make sure you take excellent care of those people that have been with you for 6 months, a year, 2 years. I'm working with some clients today that I've been working with for over 9 years. Other clients that continue to bring me work 7 or 8 years later. These are the folks you really want to make sure you're taking care of, because they still have choices. They could go with somebody else, but they're so happy with working with you that they don't even want to work. They're not even looking for somebody else because you're taking such good care of these clients. So you get the work. Obviously, that's the first thing. You just got to bang on doors, and you got to send out emails, and you got to make yourself, present a professional presence and sound. And from that point, you just start working your tail off. I mean, there's not a quick way to get there. It's an ongoing thing. That's the thing I have to keep reminding myself. You can't just sit back. You do have to kind of keep pushing forward, not to the extent maybe when you started, but at least you have to keep cultivating and looking because the terrain is always changing and other people are coming in. So that's a really long answer, but basically just working really hard is the answer to that.
Yeah. And you've done a lot of work as a voiceover artist because you've done audiobooks, you've done e-learning, and you've done many more that I can't even list. So what really made you fall in love with storytelling, and how it helps you bring that authenticity in your auditions, or like even if you get the part when you book the jobs, how do you bring that level of commitment and honesty and just being you, like when you're behind the booth and just really delivering a good, solid performance and bringing that authenticity to your clients or those that you're working alongside with? Yeah.
People that, and really, there's not a lot of interaction with 90, well over 95% of the clients. It's a lot of it's just they send the stuff to me. They know what I'm going to do for them, and then sometimes I surprise them with something extra. But Honestly, you're right. The kind of work I do, some people like to specialize in a particular niche or niche, depending on however you want to say it. Um, and some people just deal with commercial and promo. Some people just deal with radio imaging. Some people deal with e-learning and long form narration and character voices and audiobooks. That's the beautiful thing about voiceover. There's more of it now than there ever has been, regardless of, technology advances. People still connect with the warmth and the connection and the personality of just a normal voice, just communicating with them. There's something very deeply ingrained in what humans want, and that's not to be talked to by an electronic device for something that you really want to captivate an audience with. And so I think just the core thing of just being yourself. At the same time, you remember that most people don't normally talk like, they're going to explain to somebody the benefits of personal protective equipment, or this is the chemical makeup of this, or you should buy this product now today. There's a time to develop a character, and then there's time to just, hey, most people just want you to be yourself. They just want Robert to be Robert. They want Troy to be Troy, because nobody can be you. I know that sounds a little I don't know, markety, but you truly, that is the best thing that you can tell anybody is. And somebody told me this a few years ago, a very accomplished voice actor. He said he didn't do a lot of classes, and he said it's really simple. He said you just got to find your voice. And he had to stop and think about that. It's very simplistic, but at the same time, it's also can be very difficult to nail down. Like, what is your voice? What are the different parts of your voice? And it's not some deep scientific discovery. It's just about being comfortable with hearing your voice in your head when you got these scans on all day. Or even if you don't wear them, you're listening to yourself. You're listening to yourself a lot doing what you're doing. And it's easy to get into, and I've done it too, it's easy to get into performance mode, to where you're performing a part as like I'm a trainer. No, I'm a guy telling you how to be careful while you're on the job, because there's a lot of dangers out there, and I want you to be safe and I want you to be okay, as opposed to today we're going to discuss the safety measures of blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be a captive audience listening to that, just like nobody wants to be sold to, especially in this day and age. So many people just want that relational stuff. They want that kind of laid back, relaxed delivery style. So even when you're telling a story, I do storytelling for kids too. Even when you're doing that, in your mind, you're picturing somebody. You're picturing that person that you're picturing that little niece or nephew or grandson or granddaughter. In my case, I've got 4 grandkids. Before that, I used to practice on my 4 kids growing up, even before I knew this is what I wanted to do. But you just connect with that audience, and you get pictures in your head, and you get and you just kind of have fun with it. With certain kind of storytelling, you just kind of have fun with it. You just kind of let loose and have fun. And if the director says, yeah, if you want to stray away a little bit and, have a little fun and throw in a couple of words here and there, go for it. If it makes it sound more natural, or no, we need you to do this way. Okay. I can still be me while I'm doing it that way. So just being genuine and real when you're doing the copy is so important, and enjoying yourself, because you're going to be doing this a lot. If this is really what you want to do, you're going to be doing this a lot. So just having fun while you're doing it, working with fun people, being an enjoyable person to work with along the way. I don't want to make it sound like it's oversimplified, but it really is. If you're not having fun doing this and realizing how fortunate and blessed you are as a voice actor, you need to remind yourself of just how awesome this kind of work really is. No matter what kind of voiceover work you're doing, this is a blast. So that's the best advice I could give anybody. Be prepared to have some fun, work hard, but it's a blast. It really is.
Great. And do you have any upcoming work that you want to share or promote? And you could just share your socials. You could just pretty much self-promote yourself, since we're out of time.
Yeah, TroyWHudson.com is the website address. All my demos are there. I'm sort of kind of scaled back on Instagram and Facebook, but if you do a search with my name, Troy W. Hudson, I'm on SoundCloud. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. The familiar places that you'd expect. Uh, yeah. So if anybody wants to hit me up, Troy at troywhudson.com, email address, and we can talk about an upcoming project. Like I said, commercial e-learning, narration, fun character stuff for video games, audiobooks, all across the fruited plains. It doesn't matter. I like and love to do all of it. So Robert, thank you for having me on and asking such great questions.
Not a problem, not a problemo. So, do you have any like last piece of advice or any last words that you'd like to say to the audience out there before we conclude this episode?
One project you made me just think about when you said that, no problemo, because a script writer just recently put that in the script for me. I just recently started this past week doing something a little bit off the beaten path from voiceover, but it includes it because I'm the voice of a skill on Amazon. If I can say her name, Alexa. I don't want to fire anybody's device off, but you know who I'm talking about on Amazon. And I'm the voice of the day, or word of the day for Volley, the Volley skill called Word of the Day. They just launched a weekly quiz show live with prizes on backchannel.tv. So if you want to hear it and you want to see it, at least hear it, depending on your device, you can tune into backchannel.tv every Wednesday at 9 Pacific, 12 noon, and you can see and hear to an Amazon gift card. So they don't scrimp on the gifts. So that's what's going. Yeah, you asked, so I told you, Robert.
Great. Yeah, with all of this stuff that you're doing, I bet it must be a little bit like, so I guess this may be the last question that I have for today. So how do you actually balance or juggle in between, like, the work that you're doing and then you have, your personal, like, how do you balance between your professional work and, your personal priorities, because I know that being a family man and also other life stuff can spring up. I mean, it just happened. So how do you balance between professional and personal? That's
Yeah,
just,
it's an
yeah.
ongoing struggle. It really is, Robert, because it's when you're doing this and you're the solopreneur or the one person doing the shop, you also have to understand and respect the fact that, yeah, I'd like to say I start at 9 and end at 6 Monday through Friday, but the truth is, because I work with people in all different time zones, in Europe and Asia, from coast to coast in the US, you have to be flexible to some point. And the beauty of having a smartphone, you can respond, you can check scripts, you can do various things. You have to have some sort of limit. My limit, I guess, has become where on the weekends, I try to just keep that set apart and I try to, get my energy back up. I try to not do any work, voice related. Occasionally I'll have a client that I think I've just fallen behind and I do that. So it's an ongoing balancing act of not becoming consumed by it, because I have worked the 14, 16-hour days to build things to where I wouldn't have to do that. But there's still the exception to where you do not want to disappoint somebody, or you have an opportunity to do something that you have to make that exception to say, well, I'm going to be working Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning. I need to do this, or you have to make that exception and not just have it hard and fast. You need to have boundaries, which are important. Like I said, life comes up. Just this, a couple of weeks ago, my father passed away. And so all of a sudden I was left with this. 2 weeks before that, he was in the hospital for a long period of time. So there was a matter of trying to split the schedule of like work part of the day, come see him part of the day, and then the whole aspect of what to do now and how to transition. And that's just an example of life coming at you unexpectedly and just having to adjust. The beauty of it, of course, is just having the ability to not have to ask or call a boss and say, I need to take some time off. But the downside of that is that you're not getting sick pay, you're not getting vacation pay. You are the boss. So you have to figure out what that balance looks like for you. You have to figure that out yourself. And so that's an ongoing thing. And like you said, life does come at you. you've got to figure out where that balance is. Everybody has to figure that out. And sometimes you just got to take some time off and just recharge. But your creditors and the bills aren't going to stop coming in. So you got to figure that out and kind of be tough in the sense to where you got to kick yourself in the back end sometimes and go, okay, we need to focus on work here. We need to do what we need to do, and realize life's going to happen. So hopefully that
Yeah.
helps somebody.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody out there will listen to this, and yeah, they'll definitely be appreciated by this, especially if somebody's going through hard times. I mean, like I recently lost my grandmother, so it's like, yeah, a few weeks ago. So I've just been finding the time to be there for the family, and then also having to focus on getting what I need to get done because we're still arranging the services right now. So it gets it's hard. Yeah, it's rough, really rough. Yeah,
Sorry
and I
for you.
was,
Yeah, I understand
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah. I mean, I was really close to her too. So, yeah, it's still been hard for everybody, like my family and all of us are just grieving. Everybody grieves in different ways. It's how we choose to act upon it and how the grieving process goes. And I know about the stages and everything, so it's gonna be a while. So, before but I mean, like, yeah, like I said, life can be unexpected and it can throw a curveball when you least expect it. But I guess the true beauty of it's for life in general. We only have one shot at this, so you can choose how you can live spend the rest of your days. Like, what is it that you really want to do? Just find something that just gives you joy, and just for something that like with something like this, you get to remember the good memories that you've had with the person that you've cherished so close, and enjoying life with the time that you have here on this earth. And yeah, that's just pretty much the what I can say upon that. So yeah, this just got really deep at this end part. So yeah, once again, I thank you so much for stopping by. And if you have any last words that you'd like to say before we sign off, that would be much appreciated.
I can't think of anything to wrap up better than you said. I mean, just you gotta find those things that you're passionate about, and you just got to choose what's really important in the end. And in the end, spending time with folks you care about and making those good memories must come first, and then the job and the work stuff always should come after that, never before. So that's the biggest words of wisdom I could impart, but you kind of shared that with your comment more eloquently, I think, than I did.
Yeah. Well, I do my best. So, with that said, thank you everybody for listening. Be sure to follow, Troy on all of his socials and the website. And yeah, and if you guys are interested, check out more episodes of the podcast. They'll be up on my SoundCloud, YouTube, everything, and anywhere. My socials will be listed in the description by the time this goes up. So, with that said, have a lovely rest of your day, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Peace, love, and laughter always. And with that said, this is Robert Jackson signing out for today. And until then, good day, folks. Good night, or whichever time zone you're in. I am out of here. Whoosh. Bye bye. Peace.